Hey, what's up? Have a EM650 here, and don't know a whole lot except that oil is really bad. Plug, pretty carbony. Fuel, also is looking pretty suspect. Well, I'm gonna take my word for it. Smells like tarnish. But, oddly enough, it does do this. Now, when the owner gave it to me, this happened. Half choke. Try it again. So, and you can smell it in the filter. So, I'm pretty sure we have a good motor. It's just how do you spray this? Never mind. It's like a little cover, the opening's on the bottom end. So we're not going to be able to do that, but we know it works. Now, I've done the EM1000 2 or 3 times, and they're not too bad. I don't know how to get to the carburetor in this one. I know it's missing the front cover and a little latch to hold the filter in. What's holding the filter in now is pretty sticky, so okay. Asked the guy if he wanted me to find another cover. He said, yeah, sure, how much? The one I could find was ridiculously expensive. He's like, no, that's okay. So we're not going to worry about the cover. We just want to get it running, and then we'll test the output. So I say we take a look in the front there and see if we need to take off the cover or what exactly needs to be done. 2 Phillips head screwdriver screws took off the front cover, and 2 10mm took off this, or at least that's what I took off so far, and it just slides right out. So that's good. Now, I can tell this has been worked on probably a few times, because there are screws missing here and there, and it's generally a pretty good indication. But we do have a carb, so that's good. I bet this is just going to be a real joy to get to the fuel line. I wonder if it'd be pertinent of us to just take off this side cover. Probably would be. It's not too difficult. It looks like there's a couple also Phillips head screws, some duct tape. That's always classy. I'm going to take off this cover so at least we can get some better light or a good view. The cover came off with just 3 screws. I say 3 because one's missing. Like I said, I'm pretty sure someone's been in here before, or this thing just has a horrible case of the shakes. But let's see here. The fuel is theoretically turned off. So let's take off this clip. Prefer to use the pliers, but sometimes these clips don't like to play well. There we go. Now remember, we twist it, kind of break the seal. Now that it's semi-free, it comes off a whole lot easier. Okay. Fuel line disconnected. What do we have going on with the rest of this stuff? Is there anything holding this on? Nope. Doesn't look like there's anything else holding it on. It's very cramped in here. There is some type of cable. Oh, it's a choke cable. Okay, that makes sense. So choke cable works. Thinking we are having the case of separation anxiety. We just need to persuade it. Maybe not. What else is holding this thing in? Yeah, it just had a really bad case of separation anxiety. After a little bit of a sketchy pull, now what do we have? Now we have the governor arm. I'm telling you, this thing just gets better and better. Thank you, Honda. So this is what we have to deal with here. So we either take out the posts. Why is this being weird now? Oh, there's a line in the back of it. Okay. Or we just take off that arm entirely. I'm kind of been thinking about just taking off that arm entirely. Excuse me. Let me move you to a different location. That was kind of sketchy. Just felt squishy. Now, just in case we forget, usually okay. Just take this whole thing out. We'll have to reset this, but that's okay. Wow, even that isn't wanting to come out. Is everything on this thing just gonna be just a peach? A real joy. There we go. We'll leave that. Now, that can just stay right there. Trying to remember. I'll have to look it up. I'm pretty sure it was like this. Let's think here. So, it wants to be in full throttle. Full throttle is like all the way back. So all the way back, and governor arm pushes it forward to lower it. Okay, so it's gonna be like right there. Okay, I'm just gonna disconnect all this nonsense here, and we'll go and get this cleaned up. It's like the smallest little carb too. I don't know why, just noticed it, but it's just very, very small. I mean, I guess it came out of a small little area, but it looks almost identical to one of those like carbs you get like in those 2-cycle. My mind just went blank. Harbor Freight. There we go. Yeah. So I want to use stabilizer, and yeah. I have the ultrasonic started. Oh, we have to take out this jet first. I guess we probably could take it out last, but it's just gonna make taking out that float a whole lot easier. Wow, that is in there. I'm gonna grab something a little more girthy. Hello, girthy. No, it's just maybe too girthy. There we go. I'm not a fan of these that I have on the side. Not a fan at all. Does that needle have anything on the tip? I can't really tell. I don't think so. Oh, it does have a seat inside there. Okay. Well, oh, look at that nonsense. Can you see that? What is that? Looks like just rust. This was weird because there's not really a lot of rust in there. Unless it came from the tank. So I suppose it's always a possibility. Let's see what this is. We have about 3/4 of a turn. We might as well clean this one too. At one point this bowl seal wanted to come out. Let's see if we can persuade the other part of it to come out without damaging it. There we go. Now, I'm going to put this in the, oh wait, no, the emulsion tube. I do not know if that one's removable though. And either side is so small, it's going to be a little difficult to really even figure that out. It's not really budging. It might not be. Let's try it again. It's firmly in there. It's either very, very bad or it's supposed to be in there. So, I'm going to get this in the cleaner. Came out pretty good. Dirt didn't come off 100%, but whatever. Clean this out. Let's just put this in right now because we don't want to introduce any of that dirt back in there. I mean, technically we don't want to introduce dirt anywhere, but especially not right there. Here it is. So we said that was 3/4. Let's just say that they like to run lean. Well, the manufacturer likes to set this to run lean. So let's just say we want 1/2 and 7/8. Now, let's put this back on. And my hands are absolutely disgusting, but it's okay. I hate these needles. Oh my god, I hate these needles so much. It's the worst design you can make. Finally, okay. Well, I guess that's not true. I suppose there could be a more incompetent design, it's just hard to find. Let's give it a try. So because this has a rubber seat, when you blow through it with the air compressor, if you do it with an ultrasonic cleaner or anything else, in fact, I would not use carb spray because of that reason. You'll ruin that seat. You want to blow in through there and not through here. Through here, you have a very high likelihood of rocketing that thing across the room. So don't do that unless you want to find the tiny little piece of rubber in my garage that probably should have been swept earlier today. So we're going to put this right here. Let's give that a little bit of a cleaning too. There we go. Little nick. Okay. Oh, garage dog. Sometimes you just need to learn to shh. This one, a little harder, but it is idle, so we're just going to put a word that's not dirty anymore and leave it there. It's right about there. Okay, I'm going to put this in. I'll bring it back for the governor adjustment. With the exception of the fuel line, everything should be installed. Now, when you do this, I'm not 100% sure, but this way should be full throttle. That should be idle. So you push it towards full throttle, carb all the way into fully seated position, and then I already have everything attached down here. Whatever direction you want the arm to go to is the area you don't want to twist it. So for instance, if to go idle, I don't want to go right here, I want to go right there. Excuse me. Yeah. Because what's going to happen is that arm is going to move because there's the gear goes inside, it's going to push the little weights out, and it's going to move this arm back and forth. So I'm going to put it right there. At least I hope that's how this engine works. I mean, That's how they usually end up working. The key part is, though, you do want to set it at full throttle. If I could find my wrench, here it is, we can get this tightened, and we will give this a try. But we'll probably have to give it a try with the cover off, just because we don't want to mess it up. Okay. Now, we want to take our pliers, our needle nose, and put the spring back on. Otherwise, it probably won't matter what we did to that. It will always be just kind of foobar. So you see how if I would twist it the other way, it probably wouldn't have been able to move. So that's what we need to avoid. So we need to reconnect all these little hoses and the fuel line, all that stuff. And then the tank, actually, let's take a look at that now. It's pretty clean. I mean, I got almost all the fuel drained out so far. I haven't connected a fuel line. I need to finish it because my container filled up, but I don't know where that giant pocket of rust came from. It's odd. I'm gonna look at the shut off, but I mean, it's aluminum, so I don't think it's in there. So I don't know. It's very odd. So I'm gonna go ahead, put this fuel line back on, put the air cover on, just so we can run with that on there. I'm not gonna put any of the covers or anything like that, and then we will give this a pull and see what happens. Oh, also, check out how insanely long this fuel screen was. It goes on top of the fuel cap. That is a lot longer than I was expecting for this size of tank, at least. I mean, they really want to make sure everything is screened out. Okay, got it all installed. Covers, like I said, are off. I'm not going to put them on until we know. And what I did notice is the port for the exhaust here is a little plugged. So I tried to take a lot of that out. I don't know how much is left in there because it's really, really small. And yeah, it's been on for a minute or two. Doesn't appear to be leaking. I think we're ready to give it a start. Fuel is on. Choke is on. Let's see what happens. Maybe we turn off the choke. Okay, bad news. Okay, bad news. So, I'm sure you're wondering how this became disassembled. Quick story, because you're about to die. I tried to pull on it, and I kept seeing popping through the intake, and that was odd, because usually it won't do that. It will do it a little bit, don't get me wrong, but not a lot, and it was doing a lot. Changed the plug, I checked the spark was all good, plug was good, fuel was good, and even when I put starting fluid down there, I'm not 100% sure of how much you saw because something was corrupted in the card. So I'm just going to go over it real quick. Put the card back on and pulled on it. Did the exact same thing. Started for a second. Didn't even get up to speed at all. Maybe a little bit faster than it did before, but not much at all. I then took off the muffler. Well, I looked at the muffler. There's a whole lot of crap, like dirt or something. It wasn't black, but it was definitely something in the port. I tried to clean it out as best as I can. Carb spray, compressed air, no matter what I do, it's just not cleaning out. Called the owner. I looked up the price of that muffler. $110 plus shipping. I think it's a total of $120. He said, is there anything you can do? I'm basically going to open this up and try to get it cleaned up, and we'll weld it back together. So that's what we're standing out. How I figured that out was after I took off the muffler, put on some air protection, I turned the engine on, started right up, no problems whatsoever. It was loud. It wasn't very conducive for, you know, a generator environment, unless you want to go death where you have like, you know, half a mile long cord. So we are at that point. But other than that, the engine seemed to run just fine. So that's good. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little time. I'm going to look at this. I mean, technically, these are two pieces of sheet metal from the looks of it that are pressed together and then folded. So I potentially could just unfold it without having to cut it. But that just seems like a giant pain. I also, in here, there is a spark arrestor, and I tried cleaning it out, and it is clean now. I mean, I took a torch and I cleaned it, but it's still not happy. So I'm trying to think of what the best solution is. I'm thinking I'm going to take like a grinder wheel and cut the top, cut a little bit on the side, potentially all the way down. I don't want to cut all of it because I just want to flap it open and see what we can do. I don't know what's inside of this though. That's the real hard problem. It could just be a whole lot of screen. I don't know. This is also kind of worrisome because it appears like it goes all the way through. I don't know if that's going to make it difficult to kind of pull apart. I don't care about this. This seems like it's just welded on, and just like some type of something that screws in there, perhaps cover. I don't remember. But we're at that point in this video. Okay, so here we go. I originally cut off the backside, which I know didn't work because this exhaust tube goes all the way through and is in this little body here. So then I'm like, okay, maybe there's something behind this plate, and I started to pry up on the plate and it's not budging. So there's also spot welds on the other side. Must have penetrated all the way through, I don't know. But okay, so then I started looking, I'm like, okay, how does this work? So exhaust goes from in here, and it has to go in there somehow, and then eventually I found it. Where is it? One second. I lost my train of thought. How does it go in there? Oh, either way. Just not seeing it probably. But then I started looking in this little section, and it is, without a doubt, completely packed. This whole thing is packed with mud and junk. So there's not a screen. So I cut a lot of this, and I'm gonna have to tack these back up and fill the holes. Not too worried about that. That's easy. The problem about this is though, all this is fiberglass inside here. So it's going to be very difficult to repair and weld. In fact, very difficult. It's not going to be a continuous weld. It's going to have to be like spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot weld, spot, 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 like 1,000 different spots, letting it cool thoroughly in the meantime. You know, it's just that real fun welding everyone loves to do. So I need to take like a pick or something and pick out all this nonsense, and this little cavity here will directly go into the exhaust port. And yeah, so I'm going to spend a whole lot of time. But if you're having this problem, something somewhere in here, from what I'm gathering, is probably in here, is clogged, completely clogged. I'm thinking bugs or bees, probably bees. Those like those mud bees. The name's escaping right now, but all up in here, really disgusting. So I'm going to spend a good section of time in doing that, and then I'll weld it up and I'll show you the final result. I really hope this is a review and I actually have the footage, but just in case I don't, The muffler is installed, cut it up, welded it, all done. There's a whole lot of nonsense in there, but I could barely see anything, so you're not gonna see anything. Just know that you have to clear it out through that little passageway. Blew after everything is cleaned up, blew through the air compressor, no problems now. So I'm confident that at least that problem is done. How do we come to that problem was every time it would run, it would pop excessively through the carb. And while that could be a valve problem, it could also be what we are experiencing. And the thing that kind of tipped me off is a whole lot of crap inside the muffler kind of sticking out towards the beginning. So I looked into it, took it off, started up just fine. Like I said, that's how that story wound up. So if you're having popping through your carb, it could be valves. I'm not saying it, most likely or not it is, but it could also be your intake, excuse me, your exhaust. So now that that's out of the way, let me take my phone out of my pocket and turn choke on, turn everything else on. Now it doesn't even want to start. Oh, wait. Oh. Maybe we don't want choke on. I smell a lot of fuel. I think it's flooded. That's what's happened. That's starting to remind me of yesterday. Let's take a look at this plug. Or it's not wet at all, actually. There is fuel in here. And it should be on. I did not realize this idled down under no load. That's interesting. It's very interesting. But that's good news. I'm going to spend a little time, put the covers on, and we'll take it from there. Smaller generators like this, especially non-inverter, can be a little hard to test. So this is a 650, so it's going to be 650 watts. I put all the covers back on. Like I said, the front cover is missing. This is I think it's a 300 watt or 400 watt drill. Let me check. It doesn't really say, but I'm assuming it's somewhere around there. So either way, it should give it a fairly decent little load. Now, because it is a non-inverter, more likely than not, with no load, you're going to see a much higher voltage than you normally would under load. So we're going to check that out. Hertz, we're going to want to see probably no load, 61.5, 62. Under load, with this type of load, I'd be happy about 60, maybe a tad under. If not, then we'll have to adjust it. If it's way off, then we know we messed up our governor adjustment. So hopefully, no, it didn't sound like it though when we first ran it. It sounded like it was pretty good. So I'm not too concerned over that. There's like bees everywhere today. Anyway, let's get this started. Get off me, bees. Choke is on. There's no draw on it right now. The drill's plugged in, but it's not actually on anything, so I took the clamp off. It doesn't appear to be surging anymore. I did twist out the adjustment screw on the carburetor about a quarter of a turn before I put the side cover on. So we're at 132. Yeah, 132 range. Hertz at 62. 61.9. Pretty standard. Hold on to your butts. You know what? I'm not going to touch a single thing on that. That is pretty much exactly what I wanted. When I first looked at it, it seemed a tad high, 134. But like I said, this style generator, it's not an inverter, so you know it is how they work. Not going to be too concerned over that. But once you put a load on there, it did kind of dip, but it brought itself up pretty quick. I think the lowest I saw was 55 hertz, but then within half a second went right back up, and that is of no concern of mine. At that load, it was at almost an even 60 hertz. That's perfect. 124 volts. That's also not going to be too much of a problem. I like it. I think we're good to go. So we are ready. I'm going to let it run a little bit longer. Change the oil because it is just dark. It is just probably the first oil change it's had since it was new. But it's a Honda. You practically don't even have to change the oil on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And yeah, that should be about it. So if you have an EM650 that's not starting, might have a problem like we had, or any engine really. If you clean the carb and you notice there might be some obstruction in the muffler or any part of the exhaust system it has on there, you know, that's a pretty big thing. Engines need to breathe. Engines are basically overly elaborate air movers. Needs air, then in, pushes the air out eventually, compresses it. In the meantime, boom, done. It moved and compressed air. Did a few other things along the way, but if it can't move that air in a different direction, you're gonna have problems. Okay.